these are the videos that will show you how to actually stitch your rug. You will need to choose your layout first from the videos that I've put on with the layouts, the hexagon, the diamond, and the 3 diamonds for a runner, or you can do a runner with the hexagon. There are many ways, and you can also just make up your own design. Just play with the pennies, with the colors, and make them up. Maybe do a little diamond and a little diamond. Keep doing little colors of diamonds. There are many, many possibilities other than what I have shown you, but those ones I've shown you are actually really the ones that we use most often, and the basics, and the ones that you will see most often in the antique rugs. So you need a thread to baste with, and choose a very bright, ugly color, because you don't want something that is similar to the thread that you're stitching with. You want something very bright so that when you pull that thread, you know that that's the thread that you need to take out, and it's not going to accidentally be one of your stitching threads. So I use floss. I always use floss for my thread, even if I am repairing clothing or something. I use floss, and I take it 1 strand of floss to stitch with, and we're basting, and I've done 2, 3, 4. I've done 6 needles because there's 6 strands in the floss. So I do about I don't do long threads, because I find they tend to get caught, and they're just more trouble than they save time. So I do a shorter thread, say about 20 inches, 24 inches, something like that. And I have my needles threaded, and as I say, make sure that you have a very bright and ugly basting thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a mock-up of this one. I'm going to do one and baste it to show you how to do the open penny. And this is what I call an open penny edge. Half the penny is sticking out on the back, and the edge is actually finished and stitched before you put this last row of pennies on and do your stitching. That is your very last thing that you do, is put those pennies on. In other edge techniques, that's not what you do. You do all of your rows, then you cut your edge, and then you will bind, or you will turn under and stitch. And I'm going to show you the 3 of those, but I'm not going to make 3 rugs. So the rug layout that I've chosen is the hexagon, just the basic one. So I'm going to get my pennies ready and my board ready, and then we're going to start the basting. So we are ready to start the layout, and I'm going to do just the regular hexagon. I have ironed the folds out a bit. They were just too heavy, so I just lightly ironed them, and you can still see your guidelines for your pennies in rows and in cross sections. And I've also just took some regular masking tape, and I've taped it to my board, so it's not going to move that much when I'm basting. I find it a lot better, and as soon as I find my end, and I do use masking tape and Scotch tape quite a bit with this basting method of stitching the pennies down, but any cheap tape will do. Don't buy the expensive masking tape. Now, if your base is larger, if you're doing a large rug, you're doing something like this. Of course, it's not going to be easy to, or even larger, it's not going to be easy to put your masking tape down. So put your board down, put something soft underneath that will come out on the edge. Just come out over the edge of your board a bit so that you can put some pins in. And that way you can move your board around as you stitch. Your excess fabric will be out here. It will be held by pins, but you still can move your board around to do the basting. So I'm going to start the layout, and I will get my pennies ready, and we will do that in the next segment. So I've started my hexagon shape, and remember that's the flower shape. And remember that one way your pennies go one on each side of your line. The other way they are just in rows. And try and have that as close as possible when you're first starting out. Just keep moving it around a bit until you're as close as possible. There. Now I'm going to add my other row. And they never seem to fit tightly, but they will once you're stitching them. In the center. And I find it easier to, rather than to do this and this, I find it to fit your penny in. And fit your penny in. And then fit the other one in with it. So you're always fitting inside, like this. There. And then you just fit this one in with it. It seems to work out better when you do that. And you just go around. And fit it. And the great thing about basting the pennies is you can you can move them rather than with a stick pin. So I'm going to go ahead and complete my hexagon shape, and then I will come back and I will show you how to start basting. So I have my pattern laid out, the hexagon. I'm just doing the basic shape. I'm not adding extra rows or anything, but I wanted to show you this. You can probably see it. It's not fitting good. There's quite a bit on both sides. This is what you do. You take your penny and you find the way to stretch it, and you give it a stretch and you put it off-centered a bit just to make it fill in there. But you have to be very careful when you do that you keep your rows straight. So everything looks good. It's fitting good. So now we're going to secure it, and then we're going to start the stitching, and I'll get everything ready for that, and I will be back in a minute. So I'm going to use Scotch tape. You can use masking tape, but I find masking tape is better if you have a larger circle. The Scotch tape is smaller, so I'm using that for this. And what happens is, with this rug, we don't have a lot of rows. So I've done my whole layout, and then I'm going to secure the outside edge. And then I'm going to baste the outside edge, and then I'm just going to fit these in and baste them after. Your edge is most important because it's where your binding is going to go. And I'll show you. I'm going to put it here, and see, that one's not there. There. That one needs to come out a bit. So we're going to have to adjust those. So you do it and you adjust so that it's even. Then you move it, and I have a piece of wool here. So what I'm going to do with the tape is, first I'm going to take it and put it on the wool so that it's not so sticky. because some of the pennies will fray. So I'm going to gently, and I should have a larger piece, I'm just going to put it like that so it holds those pennies. I should have another piece on the end, and I should have more tape. I ran out of tape. I guess I will have to use masking tape. So you make sure that they are straight, and then you secure them. This is what happens if you don't keep this straight, and it's very easy to do. I mean, you can have them out a little bit like this and in. It's very easy. That's not. But when you go to put your binding on, which I'm going to bind it, it's not going to be even. So these are the pennies that need to be very even. The other ones will fit in. There. So that row is quite good. So I'll just leave that, and I'm going to stop the video for a minute and get my tape refilled. So I have my tape refill, and I'll continue to do it. Okay, I can do this one here. Now, that looks good. It doesn't have to be very, very, very exact, but you just, I don't think I have enough tape again. You just don't want that, those pennies are not in line and sticking out. So I'll just put that there. And as I say with this one, it's such a small rug that you can do the whole rug and then baste it. But with a larger rug, you would do a part of it. Make sure these are straight, just as I'm doing. Then you would put a couple more rows on, do your tape, and keep working that way. So now I'm going to keep turning my board around, and that's why that's why I did my board, because I like to keep turning the board rather than working another way. So this one does need to come out a bit. These will work themselves out. It's just make sure that your row is straight and touching. See if I can get a long tape. Put it on my wall. And put it on. There. Now as long as I don't knock more things on the floor, I'm going to turn my board again. And I think this one's going to be way out. Look at that. Can you see that? I'll bring it over this way. Can you see the difference? That one is way out, so we need to scrunch them out, and these will scrunch out as well. There. That's good. Now, a piece of tape to hold them. It really does make a difference. You really can't see if they hook it by your eye that well, so you really need that straight edge, and then have something to keep them in place while you're doing your basting. Because everything else inside will work out. You just need your outside edge, a very nice straight and even line when you come to do your binding or to do whatever edge that you're going to do. And that one's good on its own, nothing. So, another piece of tape. For a large rug, as I mentioned, you would do it in sections. You would do about this much of your rug, the center, and I'll show you that at the end. Okay, there. So I'm going to go ahead and do this row because I've shown you how to do it, and it probably looks pretty good. That actually is perfect on its own. So I'm going to finish that with the tape, and then we will start basting, and I will tell you a bit about basting. There is something you should do and you shouldn't do, depending on what stitch you use. So I will be back and show you that.